everybody. It's Monday, December 13th, and that means it's time for another episode of Chatting with Agnes and Cecilia, Nonprofit Conversations. We're so excited to be here in the holiday season, despite not having our ugly Christmas sweaters on, but maybe next week. So I am one of your hosts, Cecilia Supp. I am the principal and founder of Rogue Tulips Nonprofit Consulting, and I'm here with my friend and co-host, Agnes. I'm going to throw it over to Agnes to say hello.
Thank you, Cecilia. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening to our global audience, wherever you're joining us from. My name is Agnes Amos Coleman. I'm a consultant and an author. Over to you, Cecilia.
Oh, great. Thank you, Agnes. And we're here today with returning guest, Paul Miller, who's an expert on conferences. And he's going to talk with us today about a look back at conferences in 2021, which I think we can all agree has been a very different year. Welcome, Paul. And would you like to introduce yourself and say hello to the audience and give us a little of your background?
Thanks, ladies, and hello, everybody. And as Cecilia and Agnes tossed the title of this presentation, the discussion out to me, I thought, looking back at 21, do I really want to look back at 21? But I guess we have to, because we need to move forward, learn lessons, and plug ahead. Paul Miller, I've worked in the hotel industry and CVB world, DMO world, for 30-ish years in various cities across the United States. And in the last 10, 11 years, I've worked in my current role with HPN in helping organizations with their conferences and meetings, specifically in site selection and venue selection, but helping with lots of miscellaneous new stuff in the past couple of years.
That's great.
That's wonderful. So I'm going to just let Agnes guide this conversation today, because this is her wheelhouse, as we like to say. And I know she's got a lot of good questions and comments. Over to you, Agnes.
Thank you, Cecilia. Thank you, Paul. We definitely appreciate you coming on board here to share your insight in this. Undoubtedly, it's been a very challenging year, as we all can agree. And we know the disruption that the pandemic has really had on our industry, the conference and events industry. So really what I want to talk about, my question to you really is, now that we know the risk, we know the challenges, what does the landscape look like? I know there's a lot of emerging risk that's really come out of this process. How do you think that the industry can move forward from some of those emerging risks that has transpired?
Yeah, so again, looking, as I kind of alluded to, looking back, it's been a rough road, and how we move forward is, in my opinion, a part of, or a piece of, learning lessons from the past, but realizing that what we thought was going to be happening next week or the week ahead or the month ahead has changed. I've lost count on how many times when we thought we had a real clear path, real clear vision as to what was going to happen, and then some truck came along and knocked us off course. Mm-hmm. So it's going to take a while to rebound. Whatever that rebound looks like, who knows? There's hope. Mm-hmm. There's optimism. Even with the Omicron variant, there seems to be, knocking on wood, mm-hmm. By some, not everyone, by some, an acceptance of, we're just going to have this stuff for a while. And whether it's Omicron or whatever Greek alphabet letter we're dealing with, there's going to be something that's going to throw us off track. And we're going to have to take the lessons we've learned and the adaptability and the willingness to admit what we don't know. And when we don't know what we don't know, we're going to have to all, one more time, say, okay, let's get through this learning phase together. There's been a great, I think one of the benefits of the past couple of years, silver lining behind the cloud, has been an acceptance of the various elements within the industry that, overused phrase, sorry to do it again, we're all in this together. And there's been partnerships and collaboration between supplier and organizer that have not been at this level, and hopefully will be sustained in the years ahead. So hopefully it's going to be an acceptance of a lot of unforged territory that we're going to have to go through some more. some willingness to not have all the answers, some willingness to experiment. I know associations, three of us have talked about this before, sometimes associations aren't the most nimble and quick to adapt and to take risk. I think, we learn about new protocols and new vehicles to deliver education to people. And we might think after we do, hopefully, do our due diligence in reaching out to the communities that we serve, our respective communities within the respective association, understanding what that community wants from us, and then do our best to provide that in the format that they want it, and realize, okay, let's give it a shot this year. And we might stumble, we might trip, and we might fall completely on our faces. And if we do, we did our best at the time we were in, and given the information we were given at that time, and it didn't work. What didn't work about it? And we've got next year. What can we apply then next year that's different than what we did this year? And just keep growing and adapting, which again, not to throw all associations under the bus, but generally speaking, associations have not done a great job of doing in the past, but hopefully there's been a wake-up call within staff leadership, within board leadership, within the greater membership community, that we got to just realize that we're all trying to do our best every day and adapt and learn as we go.
Right. It looks like Agnes is itching to add a comment.
Sorry. Thanks.
No, I think that a lot of what you've shared, it makes a lot of sense. One of the things that you had mentioned that struck me was that the collaboration that we've forged in this industry out of this chaos, it's just been, it's what we needed. That collaboration between all stakeholders that is needed for us to move forward. And one of the byproduct of COVID or this pandemic is the innovation, how we've been forced to innovate and how we've been forced to communicate our products and services to our membership and still keep our membership or our client, base very strong. So let's talk about that a little bit because, the engines are still moving. Organizations are still doing business. They're just looking for innovative ways and continue to find innovative ways of doing this. So let's talk about that a little bit because that's definitely one of the look back of 2021, Paul.
Yeah, I think what I've learned and seen other people realize, again, it sounds similar to what I just said, is realizing what we don't know. Right. I know I have a pretty good idea of what I know and where I will allow the term expert or a knowledge expert to be labeled on me. I know what I don't know. And I know now that, and more so than I did in the past, turn to the people that know what they're doing and turn to the knowledge experts. And there's now a greater awareness, I think, Agnes, as you probably have seen as well, of where to turn for the services that you provide, that I provide. And if you don't do something, to turn to somebody else. And if you don't know where to turn, someone's going to know where to turn. So the ideas and the questions and the willingness to admit, this is outside my area of expertise. I know I need to do this to provide something of value to my members and my leadership, but it ain't me, but I'll go help you find somebody. We'll all together go find somebody that can help us move to the next level.
Yeah. So reaching out, maybe outsourcing, building new partnerships or collaborations. I think that's always a good thing, whether you're talking about conferences or any other project.
Yeah, but doing so with as clear of an understanding, again, as at the landscape that we're in at the time, doing your best to read your crystal ball, which I have thrown 12 away in the garbage in the last couple of years. And because they didn't predict the right prediction, but doing your best to predict what's coming down the road. And when Bruce and I were on months ago talking with the four of us, we talked about the survey that he and I and another colleague had put out there. And there's been surveys upon surveys upon surveys, and members of our organization is probably getting tired of surveys. I don't know of a better way yet to get a real true indication as to what an association needs to provide, because the temptation sometimes is just to listen to the board of directors and to listen to 10, 12, 20 people sitting around a table in a room.
And I just finished a consultant project for another association. And with this current landscape, I think you just have to let it evolve and move, be very flexible to move with the way the situation is evolving. So a typical example of that is that you're running a conference, you have the COVID parameters in place. A lot of that COVID parameters or COVID protocol is going to depend from organization to organization, association to association, and even the external stakeholders that you're working with. And the key here, and I think you've mentioned that, Paul, is really coming together with all your stakeholders and begin to define what would it look like for us? And how can you accommodate us? We're all in this together. What are you seeing all the clients that are doing? Because what you think your association is going to do, yes, it's a good best practices, but other associations could be doing better. And it's really pulling those stakeholders together and saying, share with me what best practices you're seeing and let us work together to help succeed and let our conferences or our association and organization succeed. And that's really one of the things that I found that it's happening. We're collaborating a lot more. We're talking to each other more. We don't feel threatened by each other. We're just really, we're in this together to make each other successful. And I don't know whether it's because of the COVID situation, but I've seen a lot more of that in our industry today.
So there's a certain person over the shoulder right now named Bruce Rosenthal, who hopefully is watching and listening to this. And if he is, he's probably screaming at the three of us saying, sponsors, 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 listen to your sponsors.
Oh, absolutely. They're one of the stakeholders. Everybody comes to the table, whether you're dealing with your sponsors, your exhibitors, your digital strategists. There's a lot of partners now that we have now that we never had before. Whether you're talking of your, COVID protocol staff or, the temperature checkers, more stakeholders that we never thought about last year that we could be talking to, that we're now talking to. So again, it's that collaboration and bringing everybody to the table. It's amazing what we can do when we put our heads around situation. Even COVID is not enough to stop us from achieving our goals.
There's been a lot of humility. We talk about the vaccines, but there's been a lot of humility that's been pumped into our arms too over the past couple of years. And again, we've all been around long enough to think we know what we're doing. It's from if we just open our ears and eyes and let them help us out.
Well, that's true. And I'm sure I'm going to get dinged for this comment, but my attitude is I have nothing against the young, but I just don't necessarily know how much they have to bring to the table sometimes. I think this is an era where we need experience. We don't need people who know how to use tech tools. We need people who know how to apply the knowledge that those tech tools are using. I do think that one of the brilliant things of technology and the fact that there are so many brilliant young people out there thinking up even more ways to serve us, like for everything from, Kiko Chat to AirMeet to wonder.com and dogs getting together more easily, as you hear in the background. But Paul, the technology we are using, even though we have a lot of different options right now because people saw a need and filled it, which is always wonderful. But what is your view of taking that forward? Imagine, as Shonda Rhimes does on her TV series right now, a fictional post-COVID world as they got back to their storytelling this year. In our fictional post-COVID world, how do you see us continuing to use this great technology for connection and meeting and serving sponsors? Because like you, Paul, we are big fans of Bruce Rosenthal and his evangelism on behalf of those corporate partnerships. So as we wrap up the episode, what are your thoughts on that moving forward?
Well, the thoughts on using it, yeah, we've got to, again, dinosaurs like me that are not as quick to adapt to new technologies as others. Mm-hmm. It's got to, I've just, again, the last couple of years, I've learned I've got to let my old habits die and not let them die, but allow them to evolve and be shaped by the new reality. We've got too many reasons and too many now opportunities for us to ignore the possibilities out there.
Mm.
And even for those, not everyone is going to jump on board. And again, that goes back to rewinding the recording here, trying to do your best as much as you can to understand where your members are, and not to specifically only answer to what they're saying they need at that point, but to also do a little leading. And to, again, going back to what Agnes said a few minutes ago, is looking around the landscape of other organizations, whether they be sponsors, corporations within your membership, other associations that are in your world or not in your world, what's worked for them, and steal and borrow and take ideas that have been done in the past. It's great to be creative and it's great to be innovative, but it's okay to steal and borrow and replicate at the same time.
Yeah. What's that old saying? Steal from the best.
Yeah.
Right. That's great advice. So as I can't believe we're already we're actually past our usual time, but this has been a really exciting conversation. And I know we're looking forward to having you back, Paul. Agnes, any closing thoughts?
One of the things that I think I walk away from this conversation with is that power of collaboration across the board. And that's where we need to be, and that's where we need to continue to be. And when I say collaboration, I'm talking of collaboration internally with all our stakeholders, regardless of the organization and association or nonprofit that we belong to. And then collaboration with all our vendors and partners that we're dealing with to achieve our desired goal. And to the point that Paul mentioned about borrow, I'm a firm believer, and research has shown us that there are no new ideas. There's always a reinvention of ideas. So all those things that you're seeing that's happening and all this creative and innovative process, these are things that have shaped, if you look at 100 years ago, these things have happened before, but the ability to remain sustainable and lead and be innovative, it's really looking back to where we're coming and creating a new vision for where we want to be. So thank you, Paul, for joining us. I really do appreciate this conversation.
That's great. Yes. And let me echo her thanks, Paul. And what is your thought that you would like the audience to take away today? And then if somebody wanted to follow up with you, what's the best way to get in touch?
Second question first. Email address is pmiller, PMILLER, at hpnglobal.com. And the takeaway, we've made it this far, and we can continue, and we should be proud of getting this far, proud of the lessons we've learned. Don't beat yourself up if it's not perfect. Lean on those around you. Lean on friends new and old, and ready for the next challenge and ready to tackle it.
That is a great closing thought. Thank you. So we all have to go rogue for now. We want to thank our guest, Paul Miller from HPN Global, for joining us today. And he will definitely be back in 2022 to share his wisdom. In the meantime, we'll be back next week with another exciting episode of Chatting with Agnes and Cecilia Nonprofit Conversations. If you'd like to learn more about Rogue Tulips Nonprofit Consulting, check us out online at roguetulips.com. If you'd like to learn more about our sister company, the 501c League, a leader in CAE education and professional development, especially in the area of ethics, check them out at the 501cleague.net. Thanks, everybody.